Hi, I'm Yao, founder CEO of ODK. I'm just going to be on for a couple of slides, and then I'll turn things over to Ali and Alen. So again, welcome to the call. Just some quick logistics. Everything is being recorded currently and will be shared publicly with the community. We had a lot of folks interested in the recording from last time, so we'll continue to do that. The breakout rooms are not recorded. But just this main room is recorded. If you have a question, please drop it in the chat. Myself, Ali, Alen are watching the chat, and we'll make sure to answer your questions there. Captions, I believe, are enabled. I can see it there. So please speak slowly. I will try to follow those same rules, but sometimes I get super excited. And then if you can, keep your camera on. Remember, if you have support questions, please leave those support questions on the forum where the answers can benefit a bunch of people. Today's format is going to be a little different. We're trying different formats. I think last time we had Joseph do a lightning talk. So on this call, we're going to focus on one bit of functionality, and it's one that has broad implications. Our goal is just to learn more from all you insiders to see if this is going to be what we've scoped out is valuable for your needs. If you don't benefit from this feature, we still want you to participate because you learn more about the design process and how to get your needs sort of met when you have needs. And then we will be chances to connect with other insiders in the breakout room. Okay, so it's a little different format, but I think one that you will enjoy. The agenda, an intro and overview. We've already done that, so give yourself a round of applause. We nailed that. We're going to do a product roadmap and update, a very quick one, and then group discussions and a share out. Okay. So the roadmap. We have a roadmap. You might be familiar with it. If you go to getodk.org/roadmap, you will see it. I'm not going to navigate to that page, but here's a screenshot of that, so you see it. Rather than go over the detailed roadmap today, we wanted to pick a couple of things and dive a little deep to give you a sense of what's coming in the next coming releases. You'll notice that the roadmap has like now, next, and later. We don't try to put timestamps on things because those can be very unreliable. It's just what we're working on now, what we're working on next, and what's likely to come later based on how much information we have. So if you click on that roadmap link, you'll be able to see more about what the process is. But here's what's coming in April. That's this month. So the first thing is that we're going to be adding support for entities in PyODK, which is our the Python library that connects to ODK Central Server. And Florian, I don't know if Florian is on the chat on the call, but Florian is also working on entity support in our UODK. So those things we expect to ship in April. In Central, the coming release of Central will have entity bulk upload. So what does this mean? It means that you don't have to create entities via sort of a form submission. You can have a CSV or Excel file with entities. Each row is an entity, each column is a property of that entity. You can upload it into Central. Central will process it and let you load that into the entities data set. Entity list is what we call it now. So that's coming in Central. I believe you can also do that via API. Collect on the mobile side, 3 big features in the coming beta. The first is just improving line styling on a map. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. The second is in the unlikely case that collect crashes, we do have a feature in collect called save points. And so we've improved both the recovery and restore of that, where it's just a better user experience. In the, again, very unlikely case, collect crashes, you have a better experience. It's kind of like the Excel and Word's auto recovery feature. So that's coming. And then the last but not least is that we do have offline entities working collect. You can create entities, you can use entities offline, you can update them, you can delete them. So all that stuff works great. It's experimental because we are not, happy with all the different edge cases that haven't been covered, and we're not happy with the performance characteristics. So it'll be in the beta build, but not in the production build. You can turn it on and you can try it out to see how entities. It's more of like a prototype. A question you might have is like, well, okay, when will it go from prototype to production? Again, we don't promise timelines, but the next release, so 2024.3, will have a non-production, a non-experimental version of the entities feature shipping. Okay, so yeah, that's coming, and you'll see in the coming beta. I think the beta is coming out a couple of weeks, a week. Ellen's nodding. So in a week, you'll be able to see how offline entities are working. Okay, so I think that's my time. I'm right on time, Ali. So I'm going to hand things over to you. Again, thanks for coming, everybody. I'm really excited about doing these breakouts and discussing this feature that Ali is going to be talking about. So I'm going to stop sharing, Ali.
Hi, everyone. All right, I'm going to share my screen here. Oh, that's wrong. Can you see my notes as well? Or yes? Okay, let me try that again. Okay. Let's see. That should have worked.
Whilst Ali's doing that, Wolf has a question in the chat about why does the
Yep,
roadmap focus so strongly on entities? It's because that's what we've heard the most demand on, that's what's blocking most people's work. And so that's why we're focused on that. We try to slip in other features when we can.
there we go. That's all good. All right. Perfect. You can all see it. So hi everyone, I'm Ali. So we're going to jump into the main topic around editing submissions. I posted about this in the Insider thread for this meeting, but if you haven't had a chance to read that, that's okay. We're going to go through all of that context right now. And if you do have any questions as I'm going through, please add them to the chat and we'll either answer it there or come to it at the end of this section. So what I'm going to do is give an overview of the context, why we're considering this functionality right now, and then we're going to get into the scope and what's out of scope, and then we're going to jump into the breakout rooms. All right, so for the context here, we mentioned this on the last call. There has been an ongoing theme in user feedback to give data collectors more control over their submissions. And we're now at a point where we could potentially expand those workflows to allow edits, and that's really what we want to discuss here today. Right now, that has been limited to Central, where you can review and edit submissions. So we want to discuss what that might look like if we change that, shift that control to the data collectors. This is really possible because we've made finalization truly final. We have clearer workflows, and I'll show you a little bit about what we've done around that. And we've also, this lays the groundwork for our entities functionality. And I wanted to mention just kind of that connection to entities, that bigger picture. We're really trying to support workflows to allow for that real-time data flow between field and office. And editing submissions is really kind of a similar concept of supporting that coordination between field and office. So we'll get into that in a little bit as well. But for folks that might be doing longitudinal workflows, we can talk about that as well. And if entities or if edits is a good fit for that in the Q&A as well. But this is all kind of within that concept of trying to create more coordination between field and office. So just to give you a little bit of highlights of some of the things that we've done recently or over the last year, really around making those workflows clearer. We've improved the exit modal to make sure that no data collectors are getting confused as to what happens once you've taken an action. Clear form states on the main menu. We've also introduced an actionable snack bar as well, so you can easily go and view forms. The states are really clear. We've also indicated when the last form is sent, so that you don't have to try to guess or remember And then that last one is clear actions on the end screen. Got a lot of feedback that the older version caused a lot of confusion for folks. So clear actions there as well. So what I want to go through next is two kind of common workflows that we've heard through feedback based on user needs. And the first one really is around only project managers can make edits on submission. So server edits only after send. And then that second workflow is data collectors can make edits after submission. So these are the two flows that we're really going to be discussing now. The first you should be quite familiar with. I'll give some examples here. So for only project managers can edit on submissions. This is where data collectors either finish their form in one session or save as draft. Maybe they make edits until they finalize or send. And here, project managers don't want data collectors to edit on their devices. This is to maintain data integrity and quality. So this is the flow you're probably all very familiar with. And some of the feedback that we heard around this was, I want full control over the form from project managers. And we've also heard that some data collectors review the collected data and make changes, but as a data manager, I don't want to encourage that practice. So really making sure that there's full control over the form and when edits happen. And then this next one is what we're discussing really as this feature idea. So data collectors can make edits after submission. So here, this is what, oh yeah, go ahead.
Ali, I think there's some issue with your screen. I think I see a zoomed in version of your screen. Are others seeing this? Sorry for disrupting. Everybody seeing a normal screen? Oh, okay. Then it must be just me.
Okay.
Sorry.
I didn't do anything, so all right, so here the workflow really is data collectors send their form, but maybe they want to edit or fix mistakes and resubmit. They might also want to copy and clone and edit as new. So these are some of the ideas that we're thinking about. And for the project managers, they want data collectors to make edits on their devices because they have the context. So here it's really on device edits after send, and this is really a different use case. And some of the common scenarios that we've heard is, for example, we collect demographic information on households. A data collector can mistakenly enter the wrong date of birth or wrong gender and submit. And then they're in a tricky situation where they might have the most context and be most appropriate for them to make that change. Or enumerators are in a hurry during the day to reach their targets. Fixing any mistakes and resubmitting gives them time to review and check for any errors. And as a project manager, I prefer them to do it. So this is a very different workflow in allowing those edits on device. So here they are again, those two different workflows. And so you might be asking yourself or thinking about, would this be on by default or not? And we don't think it should be on by default. There are many workflows that can benefit from control shifting from the field back to Office once the submissions are made. So we want to continue supporting those, and we propose keeping it off by default, and it would be opt into. But we want to discuss in our breakout groups some of these configuration options. So it could be in collect settings, or it could be in the form design. Some of the pros of doing it in the collect settings could be configured in QR code, could be turned on by data collectors, to create more of a consistent wide experience. Some of the cons can change if they're in collect, if there isn't a password applied to all forms in a project. You might not want that. So the kind of flip side of that is in configuring the form design. So the pros to this, only appropriate forms. Maybe you wouldn't want that for all of your forms. Can't be changed by data collectors. Obviously, that's changed by the form designer and could be used by offline web forms or in Keto. And some of the cons can't be changed in the moment by data collectors if they identify a need. So these are some good options for us to think through as a group. Definitely both have their upsides and downsides. So what's in scope? And I'll talk about what's out of scope as well. So editing, finalize, or sent forms off by default, as I said. So collect users can make multiple resubmissions. Once an edit is made in Central on the server, collect users can't edit. So that's really important to note. And when deleted in collect, it can only be edited in Central. So in this case, the data collector would have to submit as new. And again, kind of that relationship to entities. So you wouldn't be able to edit entity data, but you could edit other data in the form. So what is out of scope? Editing submissions collected by another device. So this would be collect would edit only local data. And then the other piece of this is for more supervisor review workflows, sending back the submission with comments or issues. That wouldn't be possible, and that would require new APIs for client server communication. So that's just something that would be another piece of work. So for us, the workaround would be to use other channels like WhatsApp. We know that this would offer a lot of value, and we've heard a lot of feedback from folks on this. And so it's not that this wouldn't happen, it's just not right now. And you can implement something like it with entities. And so with all of this, it's really what we want to focus on now. And if that kind of first version I showed you with the limited scope, is it adding enough value or not? Or is it only valuable if we continue to add more functionality or more support? So it's something we want to hear from you. And so we are going to jump into group discussions, and I'll pause for any clarifying questions as well, but just to give you a sense of what we're going to be doing, and then I'll pause. So we're going to break everyone up into groups. In those groups, if you haven't met folks before, introduce yourself. We've already done that a little bit in the mural, so hopefully that will go pretty quickly because we have only 20 minutes to discuss. Do you think we should go forward with editing with that limited scope? What are some of the blockers that you foresee or some of the questions that you have? And then the next part of that is discussing the configurability options. And so we really want to hear from you. So what I've done in Mural, so can everyone see Mural all right if I'm zooming around? So I've created templates, actually just really quick in case folks aren't as familiar with Mural. There's a lot of similar kind of whiteboarding tools. They all work a little bit differently, which is fun. You can zoom in and out just by this toolbar down here. And a really helpful tool that I use constantly is this moving around little icon here. So if you click that, I can just move around and not move people's stickies around, which is quite helpful. And you can just deselect that, or you can also press the space bar, and that also gets you that little hand. And then the other little piece I'll mention is this map view, which can help you zoom around really quickly. But that's really helpful because I've created templates for each group. So you can just kind of zoom over to your right group once we put you into the breakout groups. And then lastly, the sticky notes are just on the left-hand side here. So you can go to that second icon and it will give you a sticky. You can make it bigger. You can delete it, and then you can double click to add another one. So those are some quick tips. So within these templates here, what I've done is I've really I've just copied those slides from what we just went through now. And so you can see those here. And what we want to hear from you is, what do you think about allowing edits on finalized or sent forms with that limited scope? And below you can see these 3 different options. So we'd love to hear from you. Yes, move forward. This would really help me accomplish X, Y, Z. Or maybe you're unsure. This might not be something you thought about before, or maybe you wouldn't use it. It wouldn't be part of your workflow, but it doesn't bother you. Or no, don't move forward. I want edits on device, but because of XYZ reason, maybe you want supervisor, more supported workflow. So that wouldn't add value for your workflow right now. That's helpful for us to hear as well. So try to, in the stickies below, when you break out into your groups, it's helpful for us to know who wrote it as well, if you're open to sharing, and give an example of your workflow and what it would help you do or not do. So perhaps just hold on adding your stickies, because we're going to go through this in the breakout groups. And if you have any blockers or questions, you can add them down here. And then lastly, for the second piece of this, you can talk about configurability options and where you want what you're thinking, what would make most sense for your workflow, how you would imagine data collectors would change the settings, in which conditions. You could give us some examples, that would be helpful. Or if you want to keep it in the form design, that's also helpful for us to know. And then there's a section over here for notes. So if you want to have someone take notes, because not everything fits on a sticky, we know that, but there's that as well if you prefer that form. So we have all of these boards. It's exactly the same template for everybody. So that's what we're planning. Maybe I'll pause. I'll flip back to the slides. Does anybody have any questions? I wasn't watching the chat at the same time. Let's see here quickly. Does everyone have the mirror link okay? Okay, it looks like Ellen or Yao. I'm just gonna maybe, are we good for the chat? Yeah, okay, cool. Wonderful. Does anyone have any questions? And some people are asking for the Miro link, messaging me. Can someone reshare the Miro link in the chat? Just again, does anyone have any questions about what we're going to be doing in the group, or around the scope, what we talked about? There's further slides. Good to go. Okay. Wonderful. So we're going to be putting you into breakout groups in just a moment. If you haven't used them before, you're going to get this little dialogue. It's going to tell you that you're going into a specific room. Try to remember that room, because that's going to correspond to your different board in Mural. If you do have any questions, you can write to Yao. He's going to be in the main room. And so if you do have any questions or concerns, you can always ask or ping me or Ellen, and we can help you out. And then you're going to be popped into your Zoom room. We have about 20 minutes, and then we're going to come back and discuss some of the insights, takeaways, and then we'll wrap up.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you all had a great discussion. Our group 4 did. I got a lot of new ideas, things that maybe hadn't quite considered yet. There's a lot going on with this feature. So we just have, about 8 minutes, because we have a little conclusion at the end. Anything that anyone wants to bring back to the full group? An insight that you had, maybe from someone else in your group, or a thought that you had hearing others talk about this? If you want, you can use the raise hand feature, but also somebody can just unmute, and if there's a little back and forth, that's okay.
Well, I'm gonna talk what I said on the group, because this feature is really important. Sometimes we take pictures while filling the forms. So the enumerators had pictures in their cell phones, and it's really hard to people in the office to update the right information because it represents sometimes to change the picture, which is on the cell phone. And also this is important because if we stay in that reviewing period, the numerator has to review the form to be sure that everything is right before sending. We miss information about tracking what's gonna who is doing what on the field, because we track every submitted data and see who is submitting, when they are submitting. So we track staff field people work this way. Sorry, my English was better in the smaller groups. Sorry for that. But I think Ellen captured the idea and she can speak here. Thanks.
Thank you. No, I think that's a great insight that you can then encourage your field staff to submit earlier because they have that opportunity to edit. Anybody worried about this? Maybe want to say a few words.
Hello.
Are there going to be multiple submissions?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, once edited, is it going to create a new submission?
So we showed two options that could be complementary. The edit would be exactly the same as a web form based edit currently, where it would be on the same submission. It would show you in the activity feed, it would show you the diff, and you would see the time that it was submitted. You would see who submitted it, all of that information in there. And then we also showed a kind of complementary idea, which would be copy and edit as new. And that would create a new submission. So this could be a way, we may show that option, for example, if you try to make an edit to a submission that you have locally that has already been edited on the server, that's going to get rejected. But we might give the option, okay, you can create as new if you want, and then the person on the server can do the consolidation. So to answer your question, like the main feature would be an edit that's exactly like the web form based edits. But we also have this other option that's useful in other contexts as well.
I think Paul had a question or a comment.
I mean, yeah, I don't think it was really a question. It was more just that I think the concern sort of before this would have been sort of whether we have total control over the process and sort of who can edit what and visibility over it, and that's clearly built in there. I think as an audience we're very greedy for new toys. So if you're going to offer us new functions, we're going to say yes, please.
I have a quick question, if that's okay.
Please.
It's my thought is that when working with enumerators who are not very tech savvy, if you give them too many options, that can create more problems. So being able to clone already submitted as new, we may end up with lots and lots of repeats without the clarity of why those were created. So there's just some caution there, I think. Not necessarily saying no, but is there a way that we can help people understand that they're making a clone and they're not making multiple clones just because they don't know which button to press? I'm working with a few enumerators who they should be tech savvy, but they're not.
Yes, these tools have implications. Odile.
I wrote down a button, so I'd like to say it here. It is very important to have the possibility to switch on, to switch off, to whom or when you are going to give this functionality. Because if I see someone did very dirty some data and I don't want to do it in my sitting in the office, but I want him to fix it. So I would like to have the opportunity to let him know that now he can change it, and during the 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour, etc. But also to give only maybe one person, or to give the only one unique ID to be edited. That could be the good. Otherwise, if I open edit to everyone, that can make some mess of it.
Absolutely. So this is why we want to be clear, like this first concept would be very blunt. It would be everybody can edit when it's turned on. There would be no kind of server client communication. So yes, we like new stuff, but this has implications. So is it worth doing if it doesn't have what you just described, Odile, if it doesn't include a more specific return part to it? Yes, Stefan.
Okay, very nice discussion going on. I just have another afterthought. Is it, I don't know how it will work, but I'm just figuring out. Is there something we can do in the ODK Central such that just some specific records just need to be rolled back so that they can edit, rather than just edit all the records blanketly? So we can just flag out some specific records, roll it back to the ODK collect. And those concerned enumerators or research assistant are the ones who are able to edit only those specific records that are rolled back to them. Or what is this feature it tends to do? Every record that is submitted by the numerator is possible to be edited, or what? I just want to understand more.
Yes, for this current concept, what we would be considering is whatever is on the device, you can edit that. And there is no concept of, only this person can edit or only these submissions can be edited. This first version would be quite blunt. So what you're describing is possible, but it's a whole other workflow that requires new ways of communicating with servers, and we would consider it, but probably not for some time.
Yeah, actually the reason why I brought that forward is that the current workflow just enables, like, if it is finalized, then nothing can be edited. And that has made our research assistants or enumerators to be very, very attentive while doing the survey, because they know once it is sent, it is gone. So introducing this new feature, they become more relaxed, and they can edit even good records going to sending to the server. So I'm even a little bit skeptical about it. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think there are many contexts where you would never want to turn this on ever, ever, ever. But it depends, right? It depends on what kind of data collection you're doing. So I want to hear just 2 more comments. I'm so sorry, we're getting to the end. So let's do Tino and then Jules, and that will be that for now, but we can continue on the forum. So go ahead, Tino.
Yeah, just briefly, as I wrote in the chat, is the assumption that this could be configured by the survey owner or project owner, and if disabled, it just wouldn't be available to any of the operators?
Exactly.
Okay, so if you don't want it, it's not as blunt as you make it seem sometimes.
Oh, yes.
It's just not going to be available to anyone.
Exactly. By default, nothing changes. You have to opt into this. So yes, thank you, Tina. That's a good clarification. We're not turning this on for everybody. That would be chaos.
Right. Okay.
Go ahead, Jules.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Just to expand on the aspect of building this within the form design, the other element would be if this can be tied to some timing within the form. Maybe if you submit today, you have 5 days until you can make any changes. After that, it's logged for good. But isn't that the making it more complex in the making. Otherwise, I would say I have my data, I review the data, I know the concerns and the data to flag back, then I edit the form definition, I re-upload it, and people can update it and have that feature to edit. And once that is done, I close the window again and move on. But the use case is going to be varying and valid for several cases. If I'm doing, for example, an inventory of my own warehouse where I'm not bound to not make mistakes if they happen, I can go back and change. That doesn't really affect much in terms of data quality. It happens to be there are some defects in the warehouse and you need to reflect them. So instead of resubmitting, you can edit the same record. So it's going to be varying. So leaving it in the design really gives that flexibility and the use on when you need it basis. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Okay, this time-based thing, that's a whole new idea. So we'll have to think about that one. Thank you. Thank you all so much. It was really, really useful to hear about the different workflows that people have, where it's helpful, where it's not. So we'll take all that information. We'll have a forum thread on the ideas category if you want to continue engaging with that, if you have further thoughts. If you want to add to the mural, you're very welcome to. We're going to be kind of thinking about all of this over the next a couple of months, and then we'll make a decision on whether it's going to be something we do this year, or maybe we wait until we can do the full return workflow. So we'll give you updates as we work on that, and you'll see that happening on the forum as well. Couple of next steps before we go off and finish our days. We have a next call on May 8th at the same time. It's not the first Wednesday because May 1st is a holiday in a lot of places. So May 8th. And then there's going to be 2 entity-specific office hours that I will be leading in this month, April 18th, the same time that we had this call in English. And then we're going to try to do one April 24th in French, which happens to be my first language. And I know there are a few of you who speak French as well. So we're going to try that. And if these are popular, we can do more as well. So I'll put info in the forum as well, and hopefully we can join some of you. So hopefully I'll see some of you then. So thank you so much. Really appreciate all of the thoughts that you shared today. Ali, do you have any parting thoughts before we go?
No, the chat is still really lively. So I definitely encourage you to bring this onto the forum so we can keep the discussion going. Thank you so much for all your feedback.